Here's a question for you, right? If I go and I say to Nano Banana, hey, place me on the moon in a spacesuit, getting into a starship for return flight to Earth, and it generates that, um, you know, who's the author of that? Is it the software? Is it the human who prompted it? We're going to start to have some interesting conversations around ownership. Let's talk about the real issue here, which is the ability for this to drive accelerated misinformation and the erosion of visual trust, right? The old saying, seeing is believing, is out the window, period. Thoughts?
Yeah, my comment on that would be we're in a post VO3, post Sora, post natural language generation era. I think there's a future to the extent that one wants to have faith in the accuracy of any visual inputs, images or videos. I can see a future maybe where there's some sort of cryptographic chain of trust between cameras, video and still cameras and browsers, sort of like the way there's cryptographic guarantee that when you put in your credit card information to pay for something on a website, that the credit card information is handled in a cryptographically safe way between you and the ultimate counterparty. One can imagine some sort of cryptographic guarantee that the image that you see in social media was actually unaltered in some sense from the original capture without any AI involved. That said, my baseline expectation is that that's not going to be very
Yeah,
popular, and that is
blockchain to the rescue. But this
yeah.
is this is deep fakes on an industrial scale, right?
Mhm.
I mean, just to put it where it is. Nano
Yeah, but
Bananas.
this is
Yeah,
what people also said though right before GPT-2 and GPT-3, and this will empower all sorts of misinformation, disinformation, and yes, there is a lot of probably false information that's being generated by these models. But I have to look at it as sort of a risk reward trade off. There's so much new scientific information that's being unlocked by these models. Very difficult to get too bothered by the potential downsides.
I'm not worried about that, but I'm just saying, for the majority of 8 billion people on the planet, if they keep on seeing, I mean, you're going to get to a point where when I'm there now, when I see a video, my first reaction is it real? Right?
Mhm.
And my second reaction is going to be, no, it's not real. Dave?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. You've read all the Neil Stephenson books, I'm sure,
Of
Peter.
course.
Of course.
Of course.
It's not enough course, but of course. So yeah, like the Diamond Age to me was everything he's ever predicted in those books has happened, and he invented the word avatar in the first book, Snow Crash. Just foresaw cyberspace. That word was invented there, but in the Diamond Age, everybody moves into these communities that have different rules around technology and how you manifest it because it gets too weird too fast. And so the big step function change for society is cameras everywhere. Right. And that started years
Yeah,
ago. And so
for
now we're
sure.
living in the cameras every world. Like there's no concept of, privacy. Anytime you're outside, you're being filmed at a minimum by a satellite,
I've said
but
this
you usually
before.
by.
You can know anything you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want. The data is there. Layers of drones, layers of satellites, layer of autonomous car cameras everywhere. Everything's being imaged. There is no privacy. That's another conversation we can have
Well,
sometime.
those 10 megapixel cameras now are 50 cents each.
Yeah.
So they're going to be everywhere. And so then now, so that already happened to society. And also social media happened to society, just totally changed the whole election process and everything's been disrupted tremendously in the last 10 years. So now you layer the deepfakes on top of that. It's just the third act in this massive turbulent societal change that's only going to accelerate. And, of course, governments do nothing. They just sit there and assume people are talking about the next election like it's going to be anything like the last election. It's going to be a different world by the
Yeah,
time we get to the next election.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I would just maybe add, I would speculate that this, maybe call it a moral panic that we're engaging in right now, is going to look very quaint in a few years. It's difficult to imagine people with smart glasses doing real-time augmented reality overlays of everything that they're seeing on the one hand, which by the way means basically everything becomes photo edited, everything that you see becomes doctored by default on the one hand. On the other hand, oh, but clutch whatever it is, the moral panic that you're worrying about. Like, what about the photo editing? No, I think it's far more likely that this will look quaint and nonsensical in a few years
I
when
love
everything
that
is photo
moral
edited.
panic is becoming quaint. It's worth
Yeah.
noting that there is a digital invisible watermark that Google's putting on these images, Synth ID, and we're going to start to have sort of a arms race between Gen AI and detection tools as well. That's going to be part of it. It's always the the virus antivirus war.